Well, welcome back to another bonus episode of Workers Lit. Something that we just like to do sometimes when we can get authors in here to just talk about their books, or in this case, their upcoming books. We are very excited because this week we have Joe Kassabian. You might know him as the co-host of Lions Led by Donkeys Military History podcast, and now the author of the upcoming fantasy novel Highlands Burn. Joe, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's good to be here.
Aisha is also here. Lenore is actually fighting a war in the sort of fantasy Balkans right now. She cannot join us because she is currently fighting for her life
Yeah,
as her
she's
town is
burning
being
in the
raided.
Highlands.
I hate when that happens. Fuck.
Happens to the best of us.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on. Got to appreciate getting a sneak peek of this book before we kind of get into the conversation in general. For those who don't know who you are, who are you? What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Who are you, Joe?
Justify
Oh,
yourself.
oh God,
Justify yourself.
that's going to require a long answer. I don't think there's any real justification for me. As my mom said, I am her favorite surprise.
Hell yeah.
But no,
It's okay. You're born this way.
I can't help it. I'm the host of Lions Led by Donkeys podcast. I'm an author. I've been writing for probably 10 years. I mean, writing my whole life. My first book came out almost 10 years ago. Since then, I've been writing mostly science fiction. And then randomly, one day, I got addicted to reading fantasy, mostly thanks to Joel Abercrombie. And I've probably been reading nothing but fantasy for like 5 years. And I finally decided, fuck it, I want to try to write my first fantasy novel. I find it was a lot more fun for me as someone who went to school to study history for entirely too many years to host a podcast. But I really got to really dive into a lot of very fun little bits from history, specifically like Armenian history, because that's, from my experience as a serial fantasy reader, it's not really touched upon all that much. And I know y'all didn't mean to do this, but today is like Armenian Genocide Memorial Day. And like that's kind of like a weird happenstance, but
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. Like, I've always wanted to do something like that. And recently, the last quite a few years now, it's kind of been more acceptable to write books in worlds that aren't just England.
Yeah, I was going to say it's England or nothing if you're
Yeah.
lucky.
And I was kind of inspired a little bit by a book that is not entirely the most popular. I think it gets too much hate, in my opinion. Is R.F. Kong's The Poppy Wars. Series starts with the Poppy Wars, but because she just kind of let it drip with Chinese culture and really took a fantasy turn on the Sino-Japanese War. And I kind of really got obsessed with that concept. I'm like, I need to fucking do this. And then it took me entirely too many years to actually build up the courage to write an outline, start chipping away at the manuscript, pitch it to publishers, things like that, and getting a ton of rejection letters. Just an absolute fuckload of rejection letters. I knew it was going to happen though, because like one of the reasons why I really wanted to do it was when I first started writing. I had a publisher ask if I wanted to use a pen name because my surname is hard to pronounce.
Is it?
No, I don't. Well, I mean, I had it mispronounced all the time growing up, but like,
It's an
my
easy
last name.
correction though. Like even if you say Kassab, you could
I guess
correct it
I'm
pretty
used to
easily.
like Aisha, which no one can pronounce ever.
Right.
But yeah, Kassabian I feel like is spelled how it sounds.
I always thought so too. Armenians weirdly pronounce it differently, but it's because there's a different surname when it's written in Armenian. It kind of starts with a Q sound instead of a K, but it's like fine, whatever.
It would be really funny if the publisher was like, listen, I'm not talking about Kassabian. I'm talking about Joe.
There's too
you make
many
that more
Joes.
Armenian. We really got to lean into this.
Yeah.
I had other publishers ask me to change characters' names because they thought they'd be like hard to pronounce. Um,
What?
yeah, it's just
I
like
didn't
the
get that
subtle little
either.
stabs at racism over the years. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, us poor Armenians are so discriminated against. It's kind of fucking absurd. But, you get like weird little hints of that from time and time again. And it slowly over time just began to piss me off. And I decided I was going to try to write a fantasy novel and go all in and see what happens. And honestly, it's probably the most fun I've ever had writing a book. I think it's the best thing I've ever written. And obviously, nobody writes on their own. I had a wonderful editor. I've had editors, I should say, and friends and proofreaders that really helped me dial it in. But there's too many, honestly, to shout out because nobody writes alone. But yeah, they really helped me turn this into the best thing I've ever written, in my opinion. And I'm really happy nobody in the reviews so far is like, I just can't pronounce this, because it's not really a problem with readers that I've ever noticed. The only reviews I've ever gotten that remarked upon that were already going to hate the book due to like its social and like ideological foundations. Like, you were never going to like this.
Right. Also in fantasy, it's like that's a hallmark of fantasy is like
You
tough
gotta
names.
have a guy named Will spelled with a Y. Like,
Yeah,
or like,
exactly. I mean, like, look, I love the like Malazan Book of the Fallen, right? Like, it's an
Mhm.
incredibly opaque series. It takes a long time to get going, and there's just like a guy named Whiskey Jack in it, and everybody's fine with it. Like, if you can do that and be beloved, like, why the fuck do you care that a guy is named like Sayat? Like, fuck off.
yeah, I mean, we've read a bunch of fantasy books on this podcast. Like Melusine, they have like weird words for like days and hours, and like what is it?
Yeah,
Like a week is like a septidiad or something like that. It's like,
right,
come on, man. You can
right.
people can figure it out. Also, I don't know, you don't have to pronounce the name when you read it. You just say it in your head. So
Yeah,
who
say it any way
cares
you
if
want.
you can't pronounce it?
Like, I'm 100% certain I have the wrong pronunciations of some character names and places in my head from books that I've read. Who gives a shit? It's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, yeah, you're gonna. I doubt you'll get reviews with people like, I can't pronounce these names. You'll get reviews of be like, I thought this character was a horse, turns out it was a man, stuff like that.
Why not both? Why not have
Yeah.
centaurs?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean that was what was it? The review from oh my god. Aisha, what's the book that we just covered about the nuns?
Oh, the unworthy.
The Unworthy, and somebody was like, I thought this character was a person, and it turns out they were a cat. That was an actual review that we read of it, and we were like,
Yeah.
all right, that's not a real criticism.
I mean,
That's
to
pretty
be
good.
fair, like, you were supposed to think that character was a
Sure.
person at first.
Well, that's
But
why it's not a real criticism, because like that's
yeah.
what was fun about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a slam dunk. That's like someone saying, "Oh man, this book is really sad." Like, well, thank you. That was
Right.
the point.
Somebody
Well-
reads House of Leaves. Man, I was kind of confused. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in this book, you're going for not confusing, but for gunpowder fantasy is what I would, how I would describe that. How would you, sum up gunpowder fantasy? Because this isn't, when I think of gunpowder fantasy, I think much more along the lines of like, I don't know, like flintlocks and stuff like that. And that certainly has its stuff, but this is a little more advanced. This is a little more early 20th century. So talk us through that a little bit.
Definitely. I agree with you. 99, if not more, percent of gunpowder fantasy is flintlocks. Napoleonic era stuff is generally where it lands. And I love it. Like, it's my favorite subgenre, I guess you could call it. Some of the best fantasy novels I've read are within that subgenre. Like Django Wexler's Shadow Campaigns is magnificent. Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky is one of my favorite books ever written. And the thing is those are really, really good. I recommend them to anybody, to the point that I didn't want to write in that world. Like, I was like, no matter what I write, I'm just going to keep thinking it's not fucking as good as them. And I'm still using muskets, and this makes me unhappy. And also because of one of my favorite periods of time is like the early 1900s, late 1800s. specifically in the context of why I wrote it. It's like the burgeoning moments of like Armenian national identity, the Fidi partisans. Obviously, the genocide happens in 1915, and then like the birth of the First Republic, and all that happens before 1920. So I really wanted to write kind of sort of with the technology and concepts that they would have, with some extra stuff sprinkled in. Like there's hints at something bigger used to exist with more advanced technology and things like that. I really like uh, for like kind of to picture it in my head. I always liked like bolt action rifles are cool because you can play with them a whole lot. There's more you can do from a storytelling perspective than muzzle loading rifles. There's more because I definitely want, as the series goes on, to really explore technological advancement. And there's a lot of cool stuff within that sphere you can play with, like tanks and planes and airships, and you can kind of smash in steampunk and all this other stuff. Um, to me, gunpowder fantasy doesn't necessarily involve gunpowder so much as like firearms in general. They could be muskets, bolt action rifles. You could somehow work in assault rifles in there if you really want to. Someone could probably do it. Like I think if you have kind of like a low magic foundation and add in firearms, you're within the subgenre. It just for whatever reason it happens to almost always involve flintlock stuff. I think it's just because like it's really cool to write your world and spin it off of the Napoleonic Wars. There's a lot of cool stuff happening there, so everybody does it. I decided I wanted to spin it off something that isn't so exciting, I guess. Something that's exciting to me because there's a lot more depth in it in the world that I want to create. I think it works better.
The two genders, the Napoleonic Wars and the War of the Roses, are the two things you're allowed to write about in fantasy, to my understanding.
Everybody loves to write about Napoleon. That short bitch.
Like
I'm tired of him.
That's the other thing is so many people have done it. You kind of like, did I have something new? And if I'm going to spin off and obviously create my own world with my own lore, my own histories, is it ever going to be as interesting as this stuff that people have already done? It's kind of like when you write high fantasy now, you're going to be compared against certain things. You know, Tolkien, probably Sanderson now, a few other people, but like unless you have something really interesting and different, you're just going to get drowned, right? You're not going to compete with these guys. And I don't think I'm trying to compete with Django Wexler or Adrian Tchaikovsky. That'd be an insane thing to do. But because they inspired me so much, I didn't want to write within the same kind of scope and foundation as they did. I wanted to try to take those inspirations and really put them somewhere where not only am I like really interested in it, it's what I studied in military history specifically. So I have something to really add some depth to it.
Also, when you get started in a new genre, it's very easy to just copy the voices of people that you admire. So
Yeah.
I think it's good that you were actively trying not to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like the voice I think would be more inspired by someone I haven't even named yet. It's Glenn Cook's Black Company. Glenn
Okay,
Cook,
yeah.
I absolutely love Glenn Cook's Black Company series. It's absolutely outstanding. It's very unique voice and vibe in general. And it's kind of a concept that I don't think anybody's ever tried to do since him, or if they have, it's not nearly as good. And I would never say I was trying to copy him. I think I like the idea of like a gunpowder fantasy inspiration of the Black Company, which is definitely what I was going for.
Cool.
Lenore's been trying to get me to read Black Company for a while now. I probably should make that happen. Well, you know,
somebody's got to come on the pod and make us read it.
That's exactly right.
The way I read
Email
anything
Glenn
nowadays.
Cook. He's still around and writing.
That's exactly right.
He's I really like his books because something similar that I've been told from my other books is obviously I was in the military for a little while, hated every second of it, but because it's so horrible institution. But one of the things that I really always try to get across is like the realism of conversations and relationships of people suffering through things together like that, because it does inspire a kind of friendship that if you don't know any better, if you don't know any better, everybody just kind of seems like they hate each other. And that's something you get out of the Black Company. And when I first read it, I was doing absolutely nothing, as you often do in the army, sitting in a truck doing nothing, and consumed it in like 5 minutes. And I've always wanted to at least be able to use that experience to write realistic characters within that scope. And I think he's second to none on that.
Hmm.
Well, I'm not going to touch too heavily on plot because I want people to read it for themselves. It's a plot heavy book that people can pick up a lot of cool stuff from. But the framing of it is very much about this character, Sayat, whose father is a war hero, who is kind of living in that shadow and is living in this sort of small community in, like you said, the shadow of something greater, a former empire that was much greater, now very fragmented, very balkanized. And the novel starts with a significant slaughter that occurs in his hometown. I was wondering when you're thinking about the historical comparison and, this building up to larger conflicts as different factions vie for control of this once unified region. You're talking about your inspiration, your historical inspirations. I wonder if you could, talk a little bit more about its connections with World War I and Ottoman Empire, that region, things like that, and anything else that you might be pulling in, without giving too much away for plot, because I have had listeners complain before that I've spoiled too much of books that we have been like asking people to like pre-order and buy. Like, if you really don't want any spoilers, then like just order the book now and then listen to this later. But for their sake,
Well, they
that's
should
kind
order
of what
the
I'm
book now
trying
anyway. I think
exactly.
The era that I really zoomed in on was post World War I, in a very, very small space of time. There was obviously the Ottoman Empire collapses, the Russian Empire collapses, and in the middle are all these small states that are desperately fighting to establish their own nation state, specifically in the case of this book, Armenia, for the very first time. Armenian society is very, very old. Obviously, we've had kingdoms dating back to the first Christian church and things like that, but we've never had a modern nation state. And in this chaos between the Ottoman Empire kind of collapsing into the modern state of Turkey and the upswell of Turkish nationalism, and obviously the Russian Empire collapses, turns into all sorts of a clusterfuck until the Soviet Union eventually births out of it. And Armenia was dominated by both of those states, and then would continue to be, obviously. But in a very small time frame, this first state pops up. And as soon as it exists, even before it exists, it's being pressured by these much larger, much stronger countries on all sides of it. And in the Armenian context of this part of history, we all like to say that we all banded together with what little we had, and fought as irregular soldiers in the mountains, because these are our mountains and these outsiders cannot take them from us. And as a society, we all just joined arms in this glorious campaign to save our republic. And it's just not true. Like, obviously,
I was going to say,
yeah,
I was hoping you weren't about to say that was true. I was like, wait a second. I hate to call our guest on something. No, you're absolutely right.
That's exactly what happened, which is why Armenia is the exact same size it was, right. It is today as it was then. But what happened was is obviously all these outside pressures are coming in. There's religious differences that is fueling some things, but most of it's nationalism, right? Whether it be Turkish nationalism or Azeri nationalism or Russian chauvinism, now disguised as Soviet communism, right? Mm-hmm. But internally, we're all at each other's throats too. Because we want to defend our country, but at the same time, like, we have political differences, we have social and economical differences, we have beefs going back generations that are completely unexplainable. And even though it's such a small place,
I'm nodding my head in Sunni Muslim.
It's pretty much all the problems any society would have when trying to form itself from literally nothing. So I really wanted to focus on the things that we as Armenians never talk about, and that is our society fracturing under our feet as we are simultaneously fighting off invaders. And the main character, Sayat, is based on one of my favorite figures in Armenian history, a guy named Soghomon Tetlerian, who...
That's an awesome name.
Yeah, whips.
It sounds like a Game of Thrones name.
Famously, he hunted down and assassinated Talat Pasha, the engineer of the Armenian genocide, in broad daylight in the streets in Berlin and got away with it. His defense in court was, fuck you, he deserved it. Obviously, there's a lot more political reasons behind that, but he got away scot-free. And we all treat him as a hero. There's multiple statues of him in Armenia, not saying he doesn't deserve them. But outside of that, he was an assassin. He killed significantly further. He killed significantly more of other Armenians than he ever did Ottomans who killed us. Like anyone who was considered a traitor, whether it be they made deals with Ottomans, or they were a Bolshevik, or they were a Menshevik if you worked in that direction, or they were a member of the clergy, like anybody, he stacked up bodies inside the borders. You know what I'm saying? So like it's these little elements of history that we never talk about. Like everybody has heard of the French Revolution. Everybody knows about the terror. We had our own terror. We did it to ourselves. And that's why like that's a huge feature of the book is the society tearing itself apart at the behest of outsiders, which is exactly what we did. Like famously, we had elections, Mensheviks won, Bolsheviks were a very minuscule minority of Armenian voters. Everyone just saw them as Russians and a Russian outside influence. But within 2 years, the Russians are invading and putting in a Bolshevik government. You know what I'm saying? So like what I really wanted to do is show how a society effectively tears itself apart from external influence, but weaved in is their own reasons as to why they would do this. Like, yeah, they're doing it because they're being influenced by outsiders. However, they're also doing it because they have their own internecine beefs that this just works in their favor.
Definitely.
That's really cool. I love that.
So one thing I wanted to ask about is, this is a fantasy novel. It's not fantasy in like some kind of we're slinging a bunch of spells every single page, anything like that.
Right.
There's, much more in the way of gun horseback riding than there is in the way of magic, but there is magic. There's the mountain god, Oro. Am I saying that right? Is it Oro?
Yeah.
Am I correct about that? Things like that. I'd love, and this is more for me than for anybody else, but I'd love if you could talk a little bit about how you decided to work magic into the world, because that is always a sort of tricky thing I find in fantasy is like, how much do we want to go into magic and what do we want that to look like? I'd love if you could talk a little bit about your magical side of this fantasy novel, now that you've talked about the historical side of it.
Yeah. So when I wrote what I enjoy to read, I'm 100% guilty of that. And that is low fantasy. So yes, there's magic, but I fall into the camp where if you introduce a magic system, it requires defined rules because it needs to exist within the world as would electricity, right? Like it's a thing that everybody knows exists. It's a part of everyday life for some people. So therefore it has to fall under some rules of the realm and whatever it is you're writing in. And I also really prefer very grimy low magic because, I mean, if you think about it, if we had a world with wizards and shit running all over the place, every single one of them is like a weapon of mass destruction. Nobody would want them running around doing whatever they wanted. They would be enslaved or murdered.
Dragon aged.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Put
nobody wants these kids running around, right? And I also wanted to introduce some kind of technological revolution into the world because you kind of have to explain why some places have some things and not others. And I didn't really want to just do like an industrial revolution. It seemed pretty lame to me that happened in real life. What I did instead is introduce the ethereal industrial revolution, which is like magical industry. Because if, in my opinion, if such a thing was birthed into the world as we know it today, what would happen? It would be exploited as a natural resource like anything else, right? Yeah. So that's what I envisioned in my head. And that's like, I also wanted it to be very, very low. So like, it's not flashy, none of this shit. If it exists, it's like anything else. Electricity cannot just exist unless it's lightning, right? But then it's uncontrollable. So it follows very distinct rules. People can't just use things, they have to pay for them. And I like that because it also means that whoever's using the magic can't necessarily be all powerful. It makes them very human. Yes, they can obliterate people with fire and whatnot, but they can just get shot with a gun too. Like they're very, very human. And I kind of showed my disdain for the high magical concept of a wizard by making the users of magic in the book known as a theory just miserable fuckers to be around, because using the powers makes them kind of ill, mentally ill and physically ill. So they self-medicate on alcohol, right, or drugs, because if you think about what would happen if you put these dudes in real life, they'd be a weapon of mass destruction at the clap of a hand. They would be killing untold amounts of humanity, which would fuck them up to the point that they would all just be shells of people. So I very much put in a lot of my own experience seeing people with untreated PTSD self-medicate with drugs and alcohol into all of the sorcerers. I wanted them all to feel very real and very miserable, because it's not a good job to have.
Oh, it's interesting. The classic, like, why didn't they just shoot Lord Voldemort with a gun question?
Yeah. Because why not, right? Like, yeah, they don't obviously, like, I write in ways to counter firearms, but those aren't always there, right? It's like wearing a ballistic vest. Sometimes it works, sometimes it goes right through. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's really safe. Even like healers exist, magical healers exist, but if they use too much of their power, they'll die.
Right. Well, yeah, there's a reason why you put your wizard at the back of the party when you play D&D.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, having been playing Baldur's Gate 3 recently, I would love a gun to take down some of these motherfuckers.
Nobody wants to put DV in the trenches in Somme for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gale of Waterdeep is nothing compared to my AK. Okay. Let's see.
Can that be the title of this episode?
That's
the title for the sequel right there for you, Joe. That's free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's something that I really wanted, because like these guys are super powerful, but they're also part of a military formation, right? There's no such thing as a super soldier. Everybody has to work together, to include the dudes who can melt people with magical powers. If someone isn't helping them, just some random dickhead with a revolver can put one in his stomach and he dies.
I feel comfortable saying this because even though I've met this individual, this author, he's very gracious and was very gracious, and also has since admitted that a lot of this stuff was stupid. Christopher Paolini's Aragon. Did you ever read those books?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Yeah, he's same exactly. He has. I met it. He has since admitted. He's like, yeah, a lot of that was dumb, but I was like 16.
Right.
No beef with him. But I would like.
It's not his fault that they let a 16-year-old publish a novel.
Exactly. But a thing that always struck me as a kid, as I remember in the second one, there's a part where they're having a giant battle between like 10,000 people on both sides or whatever. And Aragon has the power to sever people's brain stems, and he's doing it battalion at a time. And I'm like, this isn't fun at all anymore. This
exactly.
sucks.
It's over. You can't be too overpowered with your magic, because then it's like there's no tension, nothing. Like if you just have brain severing battalion powers, it's like, then why am I reading the text in between? I already know how this ends.
Yeah
You always, I mean, in every fantasy story there's got to be some like inborn nerf.
I agree.
With every video game too, it's like, why are we all at level 1? Like there has to be like a reason for it.
Yeah, you can't have the serial anime power creep. Otherwise, by chapter 10, you're just fighting God.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, which is
no one's going to do it better than Dragon Ball Z. It's already done. Yeah, exactly.
I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z, but after a while, it's just like the whole story is just like, oh, I wonder how Goku's going to beat this guy. Like, like, there's no tension anymore. There's no stakes.
Yeah, you went on the Worst of All Possible Worlds to talk about Final Fantasy VII, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I spent about 8 hours talking about Final Fantasy VII.
So I was at Josh's house when he was doing the final Sephiroth fight. And the way that we were just like, when you say that, I immediately just think of like that ridiculous, what is it, like the meteor attack that goes through like every single planet, and it takes like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's a painful one. Yeah, if you don't have fast forward, you might as well set the controller down.
Yeah.
Well, this is a rich world, and this is a rich book, but it seems like you're setting up to do some more in this setting. Could you? I mean,
Mhm.
people need to get the book first. It needs to do well. But do you have
That would
ideas
certainly
for a
help.
longer series?
Yeah, absolutely. My plan in my head is, and I'm already working on the second book loosely, like it's not on the manuscript yet. I'm working on the outline. Is
I
to
feel that.
explore this world that I have created in the first one. I kind of bring up a whole map of different countries, different cultures, different religions. There's one major imperialist religion in the middle of all of it, and we're going to explore that a lot as our main character Sayat continues to live within the mercenary company, or free company as I call them in the novel, and he's going to grow up in there. That's going to follow his life throughout from now until he's an old man, and the various different worldwide clusterfucks he gets involved in. The first series, assuming it does well, I'm hoping it does well, is obviously going to bring this current story to a close, but the goal is to continue his story, because the story isn't necessarily Sayat as much it is the story of where he's from, and a lot of the ways that like he is swearing to avenge his family and chasing after that goal. But the revenge mission itself is just part of the larger story as well. But there's a lot
Mhm.
of territory and stories and cultures to explore. I don't want to I can't really say where we're going to go in the next book because it gives away the ending of the first book.
For sure.
But my goal is everywhere that the story follows, it goes to a very authentic place. Like when I wrote the first one, when you enter what's called the Confederation of Hakia, it's effectively just Highlands Village, Armenia, and I spent a lot of time in villages in Armenia, and I wanted to paint a picture that you could walk in, you could smell, you could feel, like just like I did. And I want everywhere that you go after that in the story to have that same touch. I don't want to write something that I don't know anything about. So I'm hoping by exploring all these various different countries and cultures and religions and whatnot that we've created, we can really make them feel like something you can touch in your hand every time. We want the
Mhm.
battles to be disgusting and chaotic. We want the cultures to seem real, and we want the soldiers and the people he meets along the way to seem authentic.
Makes sense. Um. Oh, Aisha, do you have a question?
I was gonna say, have you ever did you ever read Robin Hobb? Like Assassin's Quest, Assassin's other things?
Uh, Funny story. I just picked it up from the story yesterday, and it's sitting on my bookshelf for when I finish Dagger and Coin, and I'm on the last book for Dagger and Coin. So it's the next series that I'm going to
Oh,
read
cool.
because
Yeah, because
everyone
describing
keeps demanding I read it.
yeah, just what you're describing is reminding me of those books. And I also only just started reading them. I like missed them the first time around. They're from like
Mhm.
the late 90s, I think.
I've heard nothing but good things, especially with her character work.
Yeah.
And I have the first one sitting on my shelf. I think I have 100 pages left in the last book in Dagger and Coin, which is outstanding. It's by Daniel Abraham, one of the two authors of The Expanse. Everything he
Oh,
writes is
cool.
magnificent, and The Expanse is one of my favorite series of all time. It's definitely my favorite science fiction series. But
Oh,
and
the game company I used to work for made an Expanse game.
Yeah, it's outstanding. I cannot recommend enough. It's one of those problems. There's a couple authors I binge read, right? Like when I discovered Joe Abercrombie, I literally read all of his books in a row with no other books in between. And for a little bit, it kind of fucked up my head because every book I searched for, I'm like, oh, I got to find the next one like this, and there just
Hmm.
isn't.
Yeah.
That's not how books work. That's not how creative anything works. And after I finished The Expanse, which I read every single book in a row without break. I was looking for other stuff. Like I've read I'm current on all the Red Rising books, which are good. Absolutely nothing like The Expanse. The vibe, the voice, everything is different. Not in a bad way. It's its own thing. And I always have a tendency of like trying to track down the thing that I've been binge reading. And I have a feeling that's going to be my problem ending Dagger and Coin is going to be looking just for more of Daniel Abraham.
Hmm.
which is easy now because they have a new series called The Captives War, and book 2 came out like last month, I think. But it's a problem. It's a problem that I think it's a problem most readers have. Like when you
Yeah.
Google like what should I read after finishing this? I mean, the answer is whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But I mean, your
all
brain gets into a groove and it wants to keep rolling in that groove because
Right.
we're creatures of habit and we just want more of the thing that we like.
right.
Like,
I
give me
mean,
some more.
flashback to me in 2021, reading every single Octavia Butler book back to back to back, and then being like, "Who's a writer like Octavia Butler?" Well, no one.
Oh,
She's
No
Octavia
one.
Butler.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was reading through the Robin Hobb books literally when I started on this podcast, and I have not picked up one since because we read a book a week for this podcast, which is a lot for me.
Yeah.
Last year,
Feel your pain.
yeah, at this point last year, I had read 0 books, and this year I have read like 15.
I have a tendency to do the same thing, and I think the hole that I'm currently in is kind of like grimy, not necessarily grimdark, because I think like the term grimdark gets thrown around just to mean obscene violence, of various types, of which I think you can put into a book. There's everything in a book should have meaning. Like nothing should be mindless, in my opinion. Um,
Agree.
and I don't fall into the camp where I just need my books to be dark for dark's sake. I like kind of grimy, realistic characters and story. And that tends to lead towards darker novels, but not all of them. Some of the darker ones are just kind of grotesque. And if that's your thing, great. Not everything's for everybody. But so I tend to lead more, and I blame Joe Abercrombie for this because that's like the first fantasy novels I really dove into other than Tolkien, which really got me into reading when I was like in grade school.
Me too.
When the movies were coming out and I wanted to read ahead. Got me into fantasy. But then I kind of read nothing but science fiction for 20 something odd years. And I dove into Joe Abercrombie because it was recommended to me by a friend. So that's kind of like where I stay grounded in grim, nasty shit. Grounded, realistic characters, nothing high or like elves, dwarves type shit. Not saying it's bad, it's just not for me. But that's what makes it hard to find the next one is I'm looking
Yeah.
for a very specific vibe. I think the last time I really broke that was Tad Williams' Dragonbone Chair.
Hmm.
Magnificent. Completely different from anything else I've read. It's kind of when you read it now, it feels like people use the word tropey, and I fucking hate that term. Like you should really only use that when you're talking about anime or video games. Everything else is just kind of strange. Because everyone's like, oh, it's so tropey. Well, it's like one of those situations where like he invented all of those things.
I mean, TV tropes brain also like ruined fandom. Like
Yes.
people being
Yeah.
like this has this trope. Also, once publishers kind of caught on to like fanfic tag language of like,
Yeah.
oh, this has like found family and this and that. I hate that shit.
Yep.
Just tell me
I
what
was
it's
in a
about.
bookstore. I was in a bookstore the other day, and the entire front wall of it was like books that maybe are great. Like, it's not a knock on the book. I having written before, you don't decide your cover. But like all of it was like written on. It was like enemies to lovers. This like what it was like.
Yep.
Literally, the tags
Yeah.
were written on the front of the book, which is maybe useful for someone. Look, I'm glad the kids are reading. Whatever. Like it's good. It's a good thing to do, regardless. I know a lot of people aren't reading, but that made me a little bummed out. And it's no knock on the books. Again, most authors don't get to pick their covers.
I'm really thankful that we did. Like I got to pick my cover.
I love
and
the cover.
I was
I like it
psychotic
too.
about it, like I was anything else. Like I don't know if anybody from the team that I worked with on this book is going to comment on this, but I know I'm insufferable. I'm a horrible perfectionist, and to the point
That's your right as an author.
Right.
I don't disagree. I know I can be too much, specifically when it came to like multiple arguments with the editor about things I wanted to leave in, wanted to take out. He wanted to leave in, wanted to take out. I think when it came to the cover, it was like probably a month of argument.
Sure.
And not even what the cover looks like what you see now. That was pretty much settled from the get-go. I had a very specific idea in mind, inspired by a very famous Armenian building that was destroyed in the early 1900s. We argued about font.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally fine. I think every author probably does that a few times.
I think
Um,
there's two things that authors should not ever have taken away from them. One, to have input into what their book looks like, and two, to not have to look hot. Because so many authors now have to do like TikToks and stuff. And I'm like, it is an author's God given right to be mid as hell.
oh, I am sailing the mid seas. Don't worry about it. No one's taking that away from me.
Well,
Um,
I don't know what y'all. I'll be the hot author for y'all.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
you'll be the
Thank
hot
you.
author.
One
Don't
of
worry.
us needs
Hey,
to be.
I did a fun little photo. I got to do a little author photo shoot. I was like, let's go. All right. The last thing I wanted to say here, or ask about the book process was just and I really should have asked about this earlier, but what was the period you wrote this over? I'm always curious, like people's like technical process. Did you do like an outline? How long did it take?
Ah,
What was the deal with that?
so I have an admission. I am terrible at writing outlines, and I don't mean that I don't write them. I mean, my outline paper turns into the most rambling nonsense you've ever seen that only makes sense to me, like
Twins.
Charlie Kelly making a string graph.
I
And
also do that.
yeah, real bad. Like if anybody else read my outline, and they never do, they would think I'm a crazy person, because I'll literally be like, reading one of my outlines is much like listening to the raw audio of the audiobook for this book that I recorded. That is getting a front row seat into my descent into like my mental illnesses. And that's not a joke. Like a lot of people, I have illnesses that I deal with, but like every once in a while, like mid paragraph, I will break down and be like, Joe, what are you doing? This is fucking dog shit. And I won't go back and anything. I'll just stop, yell at myself, and keep going.
Hell yeah.
But I started the outline probably 2 years ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. Um, like everyone else that writes outlines like this, the outline got massive. I didn't really pare it down too much. There were some elements of the story that did get cut, mostly because, like, hey, we're doing a series. There's no need to write a book like a doorstop novel, even though I know that's like the new hotness these days. I don't really like doing it myself. I wanted my book to be accessible to people who don't or can't kind of commit their time and energy to like a 900-page book. So I kept it short and concise. I always wanted to move everything forward. I didn't want there to be filler or a slog anywhere in there. So I tightened it up and began writing the manuscript. And once I had the outline done, it's normally pretty smooth sailing for me, generally speaking. But then the tenor of the novel changed somewhat, because in the middle of it all, my mother died.
Yeah.
Um, and my mom was the shining light of my entire upbringing. The only person on earth, when I said I wanted to be a writer, she didn't say, "Well, I hope you have a day job," or anything like
Mm.
that. Like, she just completely encouraged me. So the tenor and vibe of the book changed quite a bit, because it ended up turning into kind of my own way of how to write grief. And I think you kind of pick that up throughout the book, of all the anger and the confusion, misplaced anger and depression and things like that is what I was feeling at the
Mhm.
time. And I really wanted to show that. I wanted to show what it was like, not only to feel personal loss, but to feel a loss that's much bigger than yourself. And I unfortunately get a front row seat to that. But the manuscript goes quite quickly. Admittedly, whenever I get to the manuscripting phase, my manuscripts go by fast.
Locked
I've
in.
been told I write like Stephen King on cocaine, but I don't do drugs. Like
Well, given
2,000
our
words a
record with
day.
hey, it's I will say, compared to the Stephen King we read a couple months ago, this is much better. We covered Running Man, and we were not pleased
I
with
feel like that
how
might have
that
been the
book.
meanest we've ever been to.
And that's fair enough.
Meanest we've ever been to a writer that's not like Ben Shapiro. We did cover Ben
yeah.
Shapiro's book.
Stephen King's a lot of things. I've read and liked some of Stephen King's books. I will say I've read and disliked more of them.
Yeah, that was our takeaway.
Him. Yeah, that's not a knock against him as a person. He seems like a perfectly nice man these days.
Yeah,
but,
maybe he should tweet less, but it's what it is.
Shouldn't we all?
That's so true. You're so
not
right.
me. I gotta post more.
Yeah, you need to post more, Jacob. I can't be the only poster out here.
Oh, I still got it. I don't know if I have the dog in me anymore. Like I'm not posting like I used to, but every once in a while I'll fire off some shit that's like I still got it.
Joe, I actually this is a thing that like I can say this here, even though this will make no sense to anyone. I wanted to post while I was reading this book. I think I may have even started typing it. I'm not sure. Noya spin-off series win. Then I was like, no one will understand this. This book isn't out.
You gotta hold that in tight for later. Then.
Yeah, when are we gonna get the Noya miniseries?
We'll see.
Anyway, cool.
But my manuscripting is very fast, which just leads to more pain during the editing phase. Yeah. But I like to get like the bones down fast and then build up from there. Like manuscripting 3 months, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Recently I saw a tweet that said the first draft is for telling the story to yourself and the second draft is for telling it to the audience, which was very helpful to me.
Yeah, and like not only telling it to your audience, but telling it to someone who isn't you, like even just your editor, because you might have the best idea in the world, but if your bones are dog shit, your editor is gonna be like, "Yo, this needs so many rewrites, so many fixes," and bless my editor, heart of gold, the most patient man I've ever met in my life because he's had to deal with me. But editing phase went on for a while. And as is normally the case with me, I redid the ending. It's virtually the same, but we redid the bones a bit. But yeah, the outlining took longer than the manuscripting, and the editing took longer than both, which is normally the case with me.
Well, I love to share this little tidbit here. I don't know if I've ever told this on the pod, but I had you talk about the manuscript. I once in college when I was in a writing class turned in a short story where I had accidentally left my comments in like on the Word doc or whatever. This was to Professor Peter Selgin, which like Confessions of a Left-Hand Man. He's a really strong writer, as the name of his memoir that people might know. And I had written the line, "This is fucking bullshit. Change it." And it's still in my manuscript. And he just wrote back, "Well, you were right about that part, at least." One of my favorite professors I've ever had. Well, you were right about that.
When I was
some of my favorite edits I've gotten have just like been like, Aisha, what the fuck?
Yep. Yep, I've gotten those. I've gotten one that it was a book before this one, different publisher, different editor, and I could tell immediately that me and this editor were going to have some conflicts because within the first chapter, he's like, "You seem very mean to your main character."
Oh.
The main character was literally based on me. Like it was like a depressed writer whose wife left him. I was like, yeah, he's supposed to be sad. I'm writing shitting on myself.
Also, like the era of nice main characters is over.
Yeah, because like I completely like some people have said it's like the Game of Thronesification of books, and I really dislike that. I think that's Game of Thrones
like getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Guy who's only read Boss Baby. Because it's like, no, the reason why George Martin's writing is good is because he writes good characters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason why everyone read his books that will never be finished, and was inspired by them isn't because Game of Thronesification, it's because he wrote really good characters. That's all it is.
I mean, also, it's weird when people are always like attributing like fantasy convention to Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones, like when I watched the show, and we don't have to talk about that, but like when I recently started reading Song of Ice and Fire, I was shocked by how readable and pulpy it is. Like
Yeah.
it does not read like the Lord of the Rings. It does not read like a doorstop fantasy novel. It feels more like it's a page turner.
Yeah, that's why like
Right.
all of the criticisms people can levy against him, which I mean, I'm sure a lot of them are valid. He's a great author.
Yeah.
Oh, he's excellent. He's wonderful.
And I will, I'll say, shouting out our friends over at Nauticast, Manu and Poor Quentin. They're doing a chapter by chapter podcast of A Song of Ice and Fire. They're in the middle of Feast for Crows right now. They've been doing it for 10 years. They're great over there. If you want a close read of A Song of Ice and Fire, I just went on to talk about Victorian Greyjoy for 2 hours, one chapter. So, had to put that plug in there because we love those guys over there.
Yeah.
They're going to finish that podcast before Martin finishes the next book.
I honestly think that's highly likely. Yes.
I kind of hope he never publishes it.
He won't.
It's kind of slay. Yeah.
The
thing is that he's supposed to do 2 more books. That's what people don't realize. Winds of Winter isn't the last book in the series. Yeah. It's like, even if he does that, like A Dream of Spring, are you serious? No, that's not fucking happening.
I'm like the one person that's not mad at him about it. Like,
I'm not mad.
Yeah, like I think we can all kind of understand where he's coming from. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, he didn't get the real ending. Like, no, he told the showrunners the ending that he wanted in case he died before he finished it when the show started. And the ending went over like a wet fart. Like,
I mean, the execution was a big part of the problem. Exactly. Not really the plot beats itself, but we should do Song of Ice and Fire.
Jon Snow was going to fuck his aunt. Like,
right. And who wouldn't have? Look at his aunt.
Yeah. His aunt's really hot.
Well, you know, a book that is completed, a book that there is a complete arc to it, and it will have sequels, but especially if you pre-order it now.
As far as I know, no aunt fucking. Sorry.
Yes. Well, Highlands Burn by Joe Kassabian. Folks, the link will be in the description. Joe, anything else you want to plug? You're also want to. I know what else you want to plug. Lines Led by Donkeys, your military history podcast about military.
Yeah, it's been going on for almost 10 years. We're doing a live show in London on May 29th, the launch date of the book. So we're going to do a little bit of a book event as well. Seats are still available. At least a few of them are.
Oh yeah.
So come and see us if you're in the UK, or even if you're not. Our last live show, someone I think flew from Japan.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I felt entirely unworthy of that, but yeah, it'll be a good time. Check out the book. I am really proud of it. Especially in the age of AI slop and all this other bullshit. This is 100% a work of love. Small team of independent people working for an independent publisher. So hopefully it's worth your time and money. There will be an audiobook. I recorded it myself. I'm not doing the production. We have a professional for that, Nate Bethay, who's also the producer on our show and 20 others. And that will be available.
How many shows does he produce?
I have no idea anymore. That will be available on the book launch date. So if you're into audiobooks, there will be an audiobook. And there will be paperbacks. We're finishing up the design and everything.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And I can just say, having read it, it has at least the Jacob Workers Lit seal of approval. And y'all know I don't always give those. So, I always give those to authors we have on the show, though. I would not have you on the show. I would be like,
imagine inviting on an author like, I don't really like your book.
That would be crazy.
Thanks for the advanced copy, but it sucks.
I will say I did give a attempt to get the evangelical author Fred Stoker on the show to berate him, but that's because he personally ruined my childhood, so that's a different thing. But no, I'm not going to do that to a normal author. It's a good book. Go check it out, and go check out Lines Led by Donkeys and Joe's other work. Joe, thank you so much for joining us on Workers Lit. We'd love to have you back anytime.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Peace.
Soaking up all the rhythm of their will allow. The workers' tongue and stories. Now we want to know every right we enjoy. Away from the night, away from the noise. We can rebuild everything they destroy. Workers need a workers' free. Power of the union and the socialist breed. Everything I can get, I need. The more I get workers.